Alrighty, friends, we are live and we're hanging out in the kitchen. There's Matt.
Hanging out is called cleaning the kitchen.
Matt is being
Domesticated.
awesome. What, being domesticated? You've been domesticated for 8 years, my love. 8 years, look at that. He also knows that I really like a clean kitchen at the end of the night, right? What is my biggest pet peeve? When I do all the dishes and the counters aren't wiped off.
Yeah, which that happens a lot.
That does. Okay. So anyways, we're in the kitchen. It's also surprising that we don't have any kids at home tonight, which is totally weird. One is at basketball and one is golfing with his buddies. So we actually had dinner. We sat at the kitchen table together and had an adult conversation. We also talked about all of the things, everything at dinner. And anyways, I said, I got this message in my inbox this morning and I want to talk about it. And it is from one of my amazing followers here on Instagram who started listening to the Women Inspiring Women podcast because she really related to my story. And she shared with me how she doesn't have a very supportive husband. And actually, some of the things that he said to her, some of the arguments that they have had has really set her up to think that she can't actually be successful in the business. And so she asked for any advice that I could give. And so I decided that I was going to bring Matt into the picture and we were actually going to talk to you together because I just really feel like this is a two-part thing. So I'll kind of start. I want you to chime in, Matt.
Yep.
And give your opinion. So a couple of quick things. If you don't have a supportive spouse, if your significant other doesn't really see your vision, they don't understand why you want to pursue this business, I think the most important thing that you want to do when you are starting out is to take a step back and say, have I clearly communicated what it is that I actually want out of my network marketing business? And so for me, it was actually me sitting down and saying to Matt, I really want to grow this direct sales business. I really want to go after it. I really want to make an impact. And I know that if I double down, if I work really hard, that we can pay off some of our debt. We can, be able to take more vacations together. And at first, Matt was like, okay, show me. I don't believe that it's possible, but it was through me actually taking action and proving to him that I wasn't just going to talk about the things that I was going to do. I was actually going to follow through on it. And so for me, it really meant when I said I was going to work my business, I wasn't scrolling social media. I wasn't comparing myself to other women on the internet and how much further along that they were in the business than I was. I was actually sitting there sending the invites, doing the follow-ups, growing my social network, having the conversations, posting on social media, mentoring the people that were either customers or team members of mine. And so it was through time. And I will say I started in July of 2011 and July of 2012, there's Matt, we went to our first summit. So we went to our first annual conference together. What happened prior to that annual conference? A lot of our followers don't know this story or know us. So it's okay if you tell some of the OG stories. So what happened prior?
The summit story?
Yes, the summit story.
The one that you threatened to send me on a flight home if I acted up?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you said what? If you called the business a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
I did. And what happened at that event? So you went. What were you feeling going into that first event?
A lot of, I didn't know what was going to happen. There was angst on both sides.
Why? Why was there angst on both sides?
Because I was threatened.
Why were you threatened?
Because I was very supportive.
No, seriously, why did you feel threatened?
Because you literally threatened me.
Oh, I did. I thought you meant like threatened in a different way.
No.
Okay, so you felt threatened. I was going to send you home on an airplane. Also, why? What else going into that? What were your feelings?
I didn't know what the business was. That was a big thing that, you were doing your thing on the social media. I was grinding on my job, and we had 2 little boys just running around and just born. So it made life a little bit more difficult, and money was tight. So, there was a lot of things of how are we going to get there, what are we going to do, and but we opened our first credit card to try to get free tickets there.
We did. That's how we got there. We bought 2 Southwest tickets. and by opening up a Southwest credit card, and that's how we got to our first conference. So once you got there and you started to surround yourself with other spouses whose wives or significant others were doing the business, how did you start to actually come around? What were some of the things that made you start to say like, oh, this is actually a legit business?
Yeah, I mean, there was some camaraderie that, I made some friends and just talking poolside, because I had no intent of actually going to any of the events or, whatever was going on. I got to go to the party. That was it. I'm kind of a party guy. So
if there's a party, Matt will be there.
I'll find it. But, so, that helped. And, I still remember the one morning, woke up, grabbed my McDonald's, and all my buddies got drug into the event. And so I just kind of went in, sat at the top row, and just started to listen. And that was kind of the thing of I listened to a lot of CEOs in my own job and just trying to hear the vision and what the goals were and making sure it wasn't a one-trick pony type of a thing. And, that gave me a little bit of an insight, a little bit of, trust of what the business was and what it was doing and what it was for. And that definitely helped out versus of just, I had an assumption.
Right.
So.
Right. And your assumption was, what was your assumptions that you made about the business?
I mean, it could have been you were just trying to get somebody to buy a shake and keep on moving on, and it was something that it was going to be gone in 6 months, or it was something that was going to, trick somebody into something that wasn't really good for them or was needed for them. So a lot of those things that kind of go through your mind of what does this do? I mean,
yeah. So is it a legitimate business?
It's been great.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were thinking, is this a legitimate business?
Yeah,
yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Just, I mean, there was a lot of things of, whenever you signed up, it was behind my back, and it was with some friends that were friends before, and then there was some turmoil, and then all of a sudden they popped back up, and there was just a lot.
Yeah.
It was just a weird point in our lives that there was just a lot going on. You were supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. That was what I was working my ass off for, and that was my goal, to make sure we had food on the table, roof over our head, and could live as comfortable as you could at that time.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like the business was a threat to our relationship?
Oh yeah, because you were crazy. I mean,
Thanks, hon. Thanks.
You were. I mean,
Actually explain what you mean. Come closer, because I feel like I'm standing so close.
I feel good here. No, it was the fact of your head was down and you were grinding.
Yeah.
And at the time, it's not like we knew what Instagram or Facebook was. We were all new to it. So we had no idea what you were looking at, what you're doing, how this was growing a business, how could it be a business, because you're just making friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
So nowadays, granted, we know the business a little bit better just because you're always scrolling and doing something on your phone.
Yeah. So when you looked at the business at the beginning, it was like, I don't understand what you are doing. I don't understand the purpose behind it. So taking that perspective, what would you tell husbands or even the significant others? Because most of this is the women watching, and they're all commenting. They're like, I'm going to have my husband watch this later. But what would you tell the wives? What can they actually do to involve their spouse more? Do you feel like there is any way around what we went through? How can we help people navigate that? I want to talk to the wives first, and then we'll talk to the husbands.
To the wives, you got to still be present in what you're doing, because when you were grinding, it was, I'd walk in the door and you would throw the kids at me and say, hey, I got a call. I'm like, what are you talking to? Blah, 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 blah. I was like, I don't know who that is. And all of a sudden, you disappear and come back up. Or, hey, we have to leave, and all of a sudden, one more minute, and then it's another half hour, and it's another half hour. So to be respectful, to me, that's to the wives. It's, when you're at home, you're at home. When you're working, so when we set hours and boundaries and babysitting, we set all these things in place that I knew what was about to happen when I came home from work, or knew that, hey, you had a meeting that night, so just communicate what's going on of what you want to do and what you have to do and what you could be doing.
So you need to set some boundaries, meaning you have to have work hours and you have to stick to them, and when it's family time, You have to put your phone down, be present. And, even your mind, like you can always tell when my mind is somewhere else. So I have to work really hard at, and it doesn't always work, but trying to be like in the moment, right? And so for me, I remember when I first started to leave my phone in the other room, like it was hard for me to do that at first because I was so used to responding to every message. But we needed that. We needed that time where it was just the two of us, right? And we also needed to make sure we had those boundaries. If I said I was going to be done with work, I needed to be done with work. So I had to pay attention. If I said 4 o'clock was the time I was done, at 3 o'clock, I needed to make sure I was wrapping up anything for the day. So I had to really be good at planning on my end. I also had to, I think this is another thing for the wives or the person working the business, I think is financial. If you want your spouse to support you, what do you need to do?
Show them. Make the money.
You got to make the money, right? You said this. You're like, I knew when you were in that office working, you were working, and I could see it in the paychecks, right?
Yeah.
And it started to. And also it was slow at the beginning, right?
Any business you start is going to be slow.
Yeah. So you have to have a little faith, but you were able to start seeing it really begin to take off.
Well, you were diligent. I got a big shadow on me now.
You're fine. You want to move closer now?
No. But you didn't treat it like a hobby. It wasn't, I'm in and out. Like, it wasn't wavering of like, oh, I feel like doing this thing, and tomorrow I don't feel like doing this. It was just like, we're going, we're grinding.
Yeah.
It's you're signing up for something just like a job. Whenever you say, hey, I'm going to work here, like, you got to keep going back every single day and working harder and, making it better.
Yeah. And I treated it like a business. I had business goals. I knew how many customers I was enrolling. I knew how many team members I was bringing in. I knew how much money that I wanted to make. And I was working towards that. I wasn't just playing around on social media. I was treating this like it was a means to an end. So I took it very seriously. And that meant that I had to make some sacrifices along the way. Those sacrifices came at the expense of sometimes early mornings, late nights, weekends. I tried to make it as less impactful on our family, especially when he was still working full time, because it was hard. We had a very limited amount of time and we had really small kids. So you have to show you have to show them the money. If you want them to support you, you have got to do good on your goals and making money. I would say to the spouses, so to the significant other that is not working the business, what's your advice?
Well, back to the money piece, like wives,
husbands.
Well, so we're still talking
All right.
about wives.
Okay. All right.
You gotta set your goal, right? So you can't just say make money, because define the money, right? So if you look at week 1 and do some averages or whatever, how you guys want to baseline it's like you have to make sure that it's an adequate amount. It's not saying, oh, I'm going to make $1,000 this week and it's going to be like this. It's not. You're just like, all right, my goal this week's $50 or X amount, and then you're going to keep growing on top of that,
right? And
setting those goals so that they have it, so that you can say, no, we talked about it, I hit my goal. Like, we're still on track, we're still moving forward, we're on a good thing, Yep. And so that always helps.
It does. All right, I want to talk to the husbands. I want you to talk to the husbands, because I think that wives are incredibly stubborn, but I also think men are incredibly stubborn as well. So what are we going to say to those guys?
Well, number one, I'm not stubborn. I might be the only husband, but that's okay.
You're very stubborn. Very stubborn. All right, what do we say to the guys?
I mean, it's like a job. Like, if they have a 9 to 5, then they have to work it. You got to make the adjustment. So it's something that you have to go out there and look at of, you know what, if they're going to contribute, they're helping, they're going to make a positive impact, then you have to adjust your schedules too. So there's little things like folding laundry, doing dishes, stupid things like that you can just literally clear time off their plate to give them an extra maybe 20 minutes. Like, my goal in life right now, like I said, I've been...
Are you going to share this? What your goal in life is?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
Well,
no, I mean, to clean up after my tornado.
Oh, no, hell no. That would never be my goal in life. But, like, right now, with her doing 2 different businesses, right, how do I take time off her plate so she can do what she needs to do to get it done, right? So you know, she's still completely active in her kids' life. Still, granted, I'm the Uber driver 24/7.
Yes, he
but,
is.
you know, if I can open up a little bit of windows of opportunity for her so she's not cleaning the kitchen because it's a pet peeve for her at night. I don't do it all the time, but when I do it, it's fine. But, like, things of that nature. Laundry, anything around the house. If there's running tasks, like returns.
Hate returns.
Cutting down boxes of all the deliveries, like that kind of stuff.
Don't like that either.
No, but things of that can just give her an extra 5 minutes or whatever, especially at the beginning of the business, will definitely help them out.
And when you were still working full time, one of the first modifications that we made was who was cooking dinner. And you started cooking dinner 2 or 3 nights a week, and I was cooking dinner 2 or 3 nights a week, because we started to share the responsibilities, because we were like, we're both working. It's not fair for it to fall all on one person. So we even started to share the responsibilities, and my cooking was so bad that everybody was like, Matt should just take it over, and that's how that actually happened. Yes. Yeah, and then things like we did hire somebody to clean our house. We got to the point where we didn't want to be spending our weekends cleaning.
Our weekends were spent cleaning because everything else was running.
Yes.
And so it was like, that makes sense to get a cleaning lady. Or,
Yes.
hey, you know what? You know, at some point in time, it made sense to hire a babysitter.
Yes.
So that it gives her a few extra hours. And it wasn't one of those things that was like, we're going to throw it all at it. It was baby steps. So it was like, have somebody come in twice a week for 4 hours.
Right.
You know, as things grew, okay, 3 days a week. Then some days it was, all right, we're going to do 2 full days. So things of that helped out.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. Your story of taking Matt, changed my perspective. I love that. So what do you say to the spouse that is not supportive? That just is not digging in their heels and really just doesn't see the value? I feel like I'm putting you on the spot.
That one's a good one. Right? At the beginning, I was probably like, I get you. Now it's sitting there saying you're missing out. Like,
I like that.
You know, there's a lot of things that I got to do, experience, friends that I would have never met if I would have just said no and kept no. Like I said, I couldn't, like, how different would our marriage have been one night that, like, we had the outermost meltdown between our relationship we've ever had, and we had a decision of one way or the other. And, you know, if we would have taken the other decision to say shut it down, our lives would be completely different.
Yes, they would.
And, you know, it's a risk. Anything in life's a risk.
And you're not a risk taker.
I'm strategic.
He's not a risk taker. He's strategic. That I will give him credit for.
So,
absolutely.
But sometimes you just gotta lean in. You gotta trust it, and you gotta just say, listen, you know.
Yeah.
How can this help us? You know.
Yes.
And you gotta sacrifice.
And it is. It's a lot of give and take on each of our parts, and it's not easy. It's non-traditional. You know, and it sometimes is weird when we are talking to, is it weird when we talk to people and people are like, what do you do? Or what do you do? Like, do you find that that's odd or weird? We're just so different, and we don't think anything of it, but.
No, I mean, at first it's just different because, like, you know, well, what do you do for a living? I was like, you know, I actually have fun with it now.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, I work for my wife.
Yeah.
You know, or something like that, or depends on who it is. It's, you know, I help her run 2 businesses. I run all the back office things and keep her out of a lot of that so she can do other things, and that's my job. And like I said, some people like, okay, some people are like, what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. And guess what? I like to live my life the way I like to live my life. So. And
now you get to live your life.
I like to golf.
Like most men would dream of living their life, like on a daily basis. You get to golf.
Well, I do my part, and then I free my own time up.
You do. You get to travel. You get to golf. You get to golf. You get to
fish.
You get to fish.
Yeah.
You do.
Get
and
to
it's
raise
fun.
my kids.
And you get to raise your kid. And I think that's the coolest part. Like, looking back, it is, you got to drop Bryce off at kindergarten. You got to take him to his last day of preschool. You've gotten to be there for the boys and all the fun things that they've done. You haven't missed those moments, and we've gotten to travel the world together.
Got to coach them.
Got to coach them, yeah. Yep. So
just opportunities that would have been a stretch, or
you know,
things that, you know, it's fun.
It is. It is fun. So we hope that this video, this live, and so many of you are like, are you going to save this? I'm kind of scrolling back through. Yes, we will save it for you. Yes, we will download it. And we will share it. We'll put it up on YouTube so you guys can come back to it. I'll share the link in my stories a little later on this evening, so you can pull that. Feel free to share it. But as always, like, you can always reach out to Matt, and his Instagram is what? What is it? Just MJ Mitro, or is it Mitro 32? What is it? What's your Instagram?
At MJ Mitro 32.
At MJ Mitro 32. Okay, I'll tag it. All right, we have to go because Chaos is literally walking into our house right now. So I will see you guys later. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and we hope that this has helped you in some way on your business journey with your spouse.